Good morning everybody, we are back with the Mustang. This is the first time in many months it's actually been like this. It's actually cold and it's super foggy. The last thing I actually remember is this is when I just moved back up to the north. It was like this, so I actually don't mind it when it's like this working on the car. I actually find it quite relaxing and nostalgic when it's like winter like this, because I think this is like roughly when I started the channel. This is roughly when I had like the Evo and like all the cars which like made the channel. I remember it being cold outside, and summer, when it's summer I want to be doing different things like road tripping and driving places and doing that. So this to me is like working on car weather. I am in the process of trying to find a unit, but it's a very long process. But anyway, let's go on with the video. Tomorrow we've got a drift day. Look how good this car looks in weather like this. This is where the colour pops. I hate it. I hate having colours that look better when it's like moody, but I love having cars that look good when it's moody because it just looks so sick when it's wet. And yeah, anyway, tomorrow we've got a drift day at Teesside and we've got a lot of things to do before then. If you remember, we dropped off our arms and our hubs at the Wizard of Lock. I picked them up last night, I believe, and he's cut them all, so we'll show you all then what he's done. We're going to need to install them back on the car today. We also have a new hydro that I want to fit, which I'm super excited about, and we need to put the wheels back on. We've got the tyres sorted, but I'm potentially going to I'm going to lower the rear of the car just a little bit because it's just a little bit high in the back. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, let's go and fit that new hydro. So I had a terrible experience the other day. I had the car jacked up, so I had like one jack stand on this side and one jack stand on the front and that side, and it was just sitting, but I totally forgot I didn't have a jack stand on the front. So I sat in the car and the whole car's like ooh, and literally I just managed to put my foot outside and stop it from, you know, twatting all the bumper on the floor and stuff. So yeah, we've learned from our mistakes. I've got a wheel there now so I can sit inside it. When we're fitting these arms today, we're probably going to have to, you see I've got a trap rod extender on this side, probably going to have to put this on the other side, and we did have to do quite a lot of grinding to get that to fit and bolt on and stuff, so we're probably going to have to do a lot of faffing around with the trap rods and stuff with these new arms, but that's fine. While it's off, I'm going to centre the steering rack as well. Do not press the brakes, Lee. Do not press the brakes, Lee. Yeah, another thing, we're going to have to bleed the brakes as well, because me being stupid, I ended up pumping the brakes and I lost all the fluid out the piston and popped out the piston. Anyway, don't press the brakes, Lee. Don't press the brakes. As you can see here, we have a new handle for the hydro. So this is from a company called McGill Motorsport. I'm sure you've heard of them. They're like a Scottish rally company kind of thing. And this is just an extra long hydro. Let's get the wheel off. So as you can see the difference here, this is my old hydro, which I got from Driftworks. Now the thing is with a short hydro, you've got to yank it. Obviously, if you imagine, it kind of works the same way as a breaker bar. The longer the breaker bar, the more torque you've got on that rotational point. So pretty much going to be the same thing. So that's my old hydro. I have to pull it quite hard. This is going to be the new one. So you can see I'm going to have a lot more pulling force, and it's just going to lock up them rear wheels a lot easier. So what we've got to do is we've got to take the two circlets out the cylinder down here, pull that out, hope that this is the same size, and then we need to de-thread this and then thread this new one on. So let's get that done. So this is quite simple. There's just a little circlip. It's not even a circlip, to be fair. It's literally, it's like a C-clip. Little C-clip just pushes on the end and that just stops the rod from coming out. So I've literally just got off with a screwdriver. Then we can push the rod out. And that literally just what keeps the hydro in place. Now to get this out, there isn't really a nice way, to be honest, to get this out. There's no like welded nut on there to turn the whole thing. So what works for me is I always just get some small some needle nose pliers, and then I just grab the bit that's not got a thread on at the end and then spin it out like that, just like this. It's a bit annoying, takes a bit of time, but I haven't discovered a better way yet. And then literally just hold the new one up, try to get it in place. With these Wilwood hydros, they're a really weird thread. They're usually imperial threads, so I'm pretty sure this thread's a 7/16. But usually most hydros are universal anyway, so they kind of usually all do the 7/16, because most cylinders you get are either Wilwoods or copies of Wilwoods. Then we want to slide these two little washers in. Slide the rod in before we go any further, because that's going to tell us where we want the angle of the hydro. The weirdest thing about being left-hand drive is having to hydro with your right hand. The only way I can describe it is, imagine you, obviously in this country, in the UK, we clutch with our left hand, with your feet. Imagine having to switch and do the clutch with your right hand. Have you ever tried to put the clutch in with your right hand? That is quite similar to this. It's so hard, you have to pull so much harder. I'm used to just using the heavy lifting with my left hand, and when you're having to switch it to your right, really hurts and it's not fun. The downside to this one is that if you see this bit here on mine, see these little ridges, that works as a handbrake, so I can lock it on and then pull this little ridge over. But now this one's got this thing here, which is like a little rod, but that's made for a different bracket. So the idea of that is you pull it in and it sits in a little ridge, but I don't have that ridge, so for the time being I'm not going to have a handbrake. But worst case, I can actually just take this off of these two circlips and then put this one on this little ball instead here. I'm not going to do that now just because I'm not too bothered, and the main focus is actually getting the car back together. So we need to get the suspension back on, so let's start on the fronts. Now when we dropped them off, he actually sent me a text and he said these have actually been modded in the past. That makes sense because the previous owner who had the Mustang a few people ago, he messaged me and said, I swear I got a lock kit from America for it. And I was like, oh really? He said, yeah. So that would make sense. It just wasn't that much of a lock kit. So when I got it, he said these arms have been extended. So if you have a look here, now they're painted black, you can see this bit here. My guy hasn't done that. Someone in the past has done that. He says these lower arms have been extended by 50 mil, so that's going to give us a bit more clearance and a lot more camber. That's why we have so much camber on this car, because these arms have been extended by 50 mil. Now these knuckles were probably extended as well, but my guy has took more off. He's actually cut the ABS bracket off there and welded the knuckle down. So I think he said he took another 10 mil off, or 10, 15 mil off, but these were modded as well. So I already had more lock from stock, but now I've just gone even more. So the knuckle has been shortened to here, and you can see all the weld there. And if you remember, this arm, it came all the way out here. So what they've done is they've cut, this is called notching an arm, so they just cut off all the excess metal and then welded it back on to keep the strength. Now that's going to give us more clearance for the tie rod and the trap rod, and give us more clearance for the wheel as well. So yes, but first of all, so we're going to fit those, but first of all what we're going to do is, we've actually, if you remember in the last video, we actually saw this boot is just completely split and it's just fucking pissing out shit. We've actually ordered a universal kit off eBay for £12, so I'll go and show you that, and then I'll show you how to fit a universal gator kit. So this is a universal steering rack gator. Now obviously you can buy them for your car if you have a normal car, and they just come the right size, the right shape, etc. But if you have a look at these, they've kind of got different intervals of how tight you want them, and how fat you want them, how tight you want them. So the idea is you pull this one off and then you'll just cut round until you find one that fits over it nicely, and then the same thing on this and the tie rod. So what we've got to do is we're going to have to take off the trap rod. Well, it's going to be quite hard to loosen the trap rod off here when the trap rod is just flopping around, so the whole thing is just going to turn. I'm just going to put the arms on first, put the knuckle on, then I can put that in the hub. Also, I want to center the rack as well. When you've got all the things like this, it's a good idea to center the rack. And that's just to do full left, full right, find the middle, and then put your wheel straight, and then that is your center of the rack. Because sometimes if you don't do that and you're messing around with the tracking all this time, you might have way more left than you might have right, which obviously in a drift car isn't ideal. Put the bolts in from the middle so it's nice and symmetrical. To be fair, you can't put the bolt from that side anyway because of the steering rack. And always put the hub in before you fully tighten these down, because if you tighten these down like that, you're not going to be able to pull it up because the bush is going to be so tight. Put our new modded knuckle in. Now don't forget to do this, because I forget quite a lot, is that when you're putting, especially coilovers, when you're putting hubs in, you actually have some camber adjustment. So you'll have that and that. See that? Make sure you've got them even on both sides. A lot of people don't do this and I always forget. And that's just going to make sure the camber is going to be the same. So I'm going to put it all the way up. Took the trap rod off and we hardly had any threads. Literally I had like, well, I've just put a piece of tape where the bottom nut was. So the nut was there, so we hardly had any thread. So now with the hubs cut and stuff, we are definitely going to put that spacer on, but I have got one in the back, which is good news. But let's just change this this boot first. There's a cable tie up here, so let's go and cut that cable tie off. So we do have a bit of a power steering fluid leak, and I have known that for a long time. This will just be power steering fluid from that's been sat inside the boot. I have known this, but it's really hard to get steering racks. So one day I'm gonna have to just bite the bullet. We don't actually lose much. I don't actually really notice it going down. In fact, I've never even topped it up. So we don't lose too much. It just looks like we have here. But anyway, let's get this boot on. Anyway, so that goes over there. And then you just need to basically just cut round a bit, which fits over the end bit. So let's just do a little bit at a time and then go bigger from there. So annoyingly, the end of this is just a bit too small to go over the steering rack. So I'm just trying to use a bit of heat just to stretch it open a little bit. There we go, smashed it, mate. A bit of heat went on first time. Lovely jubbly. Okay, so both sides suspension is on, that is on, all the wheels are on, the brakes are on, everything's back on. Now we're just going to center the rack. So I'm pretty sure I have done this before. What you want to do is you want to come all the way to the left of the rack, so there, and then you want to count how many turns it takes to get to the other side. Okay, so we're gonna, let's say we're aiming at the seat here, so we're gonna do 1, 2, I go 1, and then there is the center of the rack, and my wheel is perfectly straight. So my rack is perfectly centered, which is good news. So what you do is, if it was, so we stop there, then we stop there, so we got to stop there. So what you got to do is, if your wheel would be like pointing over here in the center of the rack, you need to take the wheel off and put the wheel straight there. But mine is, I'm pretty sure I've actually done this before in the past. So that is the center of the rack now, which is good news. So we can start putting the tie rods back in. So with this spacer on this side, it's just, there's way too much toe out. So we've got to take off something from here. I do want to run this spacer. Either take it off the trap rod, we need to take a few off the threads so that it doesn't hit here, it hits there, pushing the whole thing down, or we need to take a bit off the trap rod. So I think the easiest thing to do would be to take it off the tie rod itself. We're going to grind it off the tie rod, just a bit of it off the tie rod, because that's where we've got the most amount of thread, and we've got the nut here. So once we cut it, we can just wind the nut back off and it will kind of straighten out the threads again. Whereas if we do it on the trap rod, we have a bit more risk of getting a lot of shit inside the thread, and it might just ruin the thread and stuff. So let's just take a little bit by time. We'd rather take off a little bit and a little bit more off the tie rod here. So we'll just start with like maybe 4 threads. We'll just cut that, and then hopefully we'll have enough toe here. Right, after a lot of faffing with where we want to be, I had to do some more grinding on this side, just because it was just way too toed out. So I had to take the tie rod out, and I had to cut down the spacer. Remember the tie rod spacer, I had to cut about, I don't know, like 2 centimetre, maybe a centimetre off that. And now we've got a right amount of toe. Obviously we do run a little bit of toe out, but how it was before was just absolutely crazy. But I bled this side. I couldn't bleed this side. I've been trying to get the nipple off for a while, and it's actually starting to bend. The nipple's just starting to bend, so that will snap if I carry on. So the other side was tight, but like, you know, tight and loose. I managed to get it off. I've done the same to this side, and it just wasn't coming off. So I'd rather not risk it. So I've just left that side. But when I bled this front left, the exact same thing happened. In fact, this one was worse. The piston popped out more than this side than it did in that side. So, and there was no air that came out of that. So I'm hoping that there's no air in here. So let's just go and let's give the brake fluid a bit of a, yeah, that feels fine. That feels fine. The hydro is still a bit, see what I mean there? I still have issues with the hydro in this car. So we're just still touching the tiniest amount. So I'm just going to take a little bit more off the bottom of the trap rod and a little bit more off the arm as well. So that's what I've had to do to get it to clear the arm. If anyone in the comments says, oh, now it's weak, now it's weak, now it's going to break, there's only one way to find out, guys. I personally don't think it is. I've literally just took off the edges. But that's what I've had to do to get it to clear the arm. But we've got quite a lot of lock there. But the thing is, now it's just hitting the other side of the arm, so I can't even really go further than that, because the wheel's going to be hitting here, and that's going to be hitting here. It's going to be fun tomorrow, I'll tell you that. So all the suspension's back on. I'm going to wait until that underseal's dried before I show you how much lock we've got, but it is a lot more. I've done it now, so I've got clearance from the tie rod and the arm, but the biggest thing now is just the wheels are just hitting things on full lock. I can't really do much about it now. I'm going to have to just run some bigger spacers and just push the wheel out and maybe roll the arch a little bit. To be fair, it might get away, to be honest, with just putting some bigger spacers. But we need some bigger spacers, maybe like a 20mm, and that'll just push it away from hitting the arms and hitting the inside of the wheel arch and stuff. There's nothing I can do about that now, unfortunately. So we're going to go on the drift day tomorrow. Naturally, it's okay, but I can pull the wheel and then it does hit the arm. So there's probably not that many times tomorrow that I'm going to be on that full lock, to be honest, unless I'm in the shit. And even then, I'm not going to be on the full lock round a whole corner. So if it does like knock the thing, it shouldn't really matter. It'll just scrape the wheel a little bit. But there's only one way to find out, and that's just to go on the drift day tomorrow and see. But I'm super excited. I know for a fact I've got a lot more. Just by pulling the hub around, I know I've got a lot more lock. Get the car on the floor. We need to go and pick the trailer up soon as well and get the car loaded up, and we'll set off early tomorrow morning. But for now, I'm going to tidy up, guys. But obviously for you guys, you'll see the lock in a second. Okay, peeps, I've got it on the floor. This is how much angle I've got. And obviously that's when you go full lock, and then when you get out of the car and it comes off a little bit, so it will actually go more. As you can see, I've got clearance on the arms, but the clearance I'm getting issues with is my wheel is going to be touching there. Can you see that? Now I'm not too bothered because that will just make an indent in the arm, because when I got the car I had a load of little indents in the arm, and it is from that. And also up here, tyre is rubbing on there just a little tiny bit. It's just taking the paint off the underseal. But considering how he was at the start, I think this is good. That is actually a good amount of lock, and it's a lot more. As soon as I get a spacer on there, even if it's just a 5mm shim, another 5mm shim, but I can't put 2 shims on because obviously I'm not going to have enough thread to put the thing on. But that will just push the wheel a little bit further away from the arm, and we'll get a little bit more, because I say now I'm just catching out on there, but that is a good amount of lock. We've still got a little bit of Ackerman on there, so when I'm turning right, this side's not going to be as locked. Wizards of Lock explained to me what Ackerman is. He said if you have 0 Ackerman, which is basically that wheel and that wheel the same, he says it's almost impossible to drive. So we've gone for reduced Ackerman, but just not 0. So that basically means this wheel isn't going to be as sharp as an angle as that one when we're turning right. When we're turning left, this one's going to be more of an angle. The right's not going to be as much of an angle. It just stops the wheels, just basically, it stops you just going forward. One wheel's going to have a bit more grip. But that is a good amount of lock. It's definitely not 90 degrees, but I'm happy with that, and I'm definitely going to notice that tomorrow. So for now, guys, I love you all, and we'll see you in the next one.